Welcome in, guys, from the Cam Henderson Center in Huntington, West Virginia, where Kentucky beat Marshall 76 to 44. You know, this game could not have started literally any slower. We're sitting there watching the game. Well, at the end of the first quarter, it is 9-6, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what in the world am I watching? Like, this is the ugliest basketball I've ever seen. But I mean, just real quick, like, you got to give credit to Julie Folks and Marshall, because that's how they wanted to play this game. That's how, you know, if they were going to win this game, if they were going to make this one super competitive, that's how they're going to do it. They're going to do it playing their style, playing their way. At Transy, 91-2, 64 game winning streak, all those kinds of things, and you see why she made the jump from D3 to D1. I think Marshall's going to be really good in the Sun Belt. They should be a fun team to watch. But back to Kentucky, it was just like the offense just struggled to get going early. And I think the offense, well, obviously they struggled overall, shooting 39%, 28% from three. But I say that, and I kind of leave the game almost encouraged a little bit offensively, because I think, yes, early they struggled a lot, but towards the end of the game, they really picked it up. Marshall came out in the press. You're going to see that against Tennessee. I think you'll definitely see that against Louisville as well. The press isn't something that a lot of teams run, but again, those are two of your biggest rivals. Like, those are like the games, like, you got to go beat them. They're going to run the press. So I thought it was good to kind of see Kentucky figure it out as the game went along. And that's why you play this game, right? Because you come here and you try to figure stuff out. You try to figure out, okay, what can we do to get better? And as the game went along, you saw Kentucky sort of try to figure out the press and sort of beat it. Last year, Kenny had the luxury of having Georgia Amore, who he'd had for 5 years, who had seen these kinds of presses. She played Louisville every single year, right? And then you go to Toni Morgan, who, kind of start the game. You're like, okay, but I thought she did really well to kind of end the game. Just looking at her stats, 6 points. Again, you're not asking Toni to score 1,000,000 points, kind of like you had to Georgia Amore at certain times, but she had 6 points and then 11 assists again. So that's 4 or 5 straight games now with 9+ assists, 27 assists in her last 2 games. Again, that's what you want from your point guard. 3 turnovers, so, not quite as good as 16 assists, 0 turnovers, obviously. But, that's an assist-to-turnover ratio you can live with if you're Kenny Brooks. You can live with that if you're Kentucky. I thought, again, towards the end of the game, Toni Morgan played a lot better than she started. Of course, I think one of the bigger storylines, one of the scarier storylines from the game, Claire Strack, late first quarter, goes down holding her leg, and it looks bad. I say it looks bad. Clearly she didn't break her ankle or anything. Now you're sitting there and you go, is it a high ankle sprain? Thinking worst case scenario at that point. I don't know, she was visibly in pain, came back to the bench, took a quick visit to the locker room, but then she comes back out to start the second quarter, and she's just Claire Strack again. Of course, she didn't have her best game ever. I think 5 turnovers is something she's got to cut that down. But that's a one-game thing. She hasn't really been super turnover prone this season, so I'm almost willing to give her sort of a pass for that. But 15 points, 5 of 10 shooting, 5 of 6 from the charity stripe. You love to see that from Claire Strack, and 13 rebounds. Normally we see her come out and have these massive monster defensive games. It's crazy that's become a normality. Just 1 block, 1 steal today, but she only played 26 minutes. So I guess it's kind of understandable there. But, I think you have to be proud of this team's ability to sort of come back and fight through adversity. I think you have to be proud, to start the game. It's rough. It was a great environment here today. Not max capacity or anything like that, but it was a really, really loud bunch. I think this arena kind of reminds me of Auburn's arena in a way, where it's built to where, the noise just comes down on you on the court. And the Marshall fans were, they were thundering. The herd was thundering today. Really pleased with Jordan Obi. Not she started the game missing. I think she had 8 points early, but it was on 4. It was almost want to say 2 of 7 shooting. Not the greatest efficiency, but it starts to pick it up. 17 points on 5 of 12 shooting, 1 of 3 from 3, 6 of 7. Computer's on my lap. I don't want to drop it. 6 of 7 from the free throw line. And then, of course, she has 4 rebounds to go along with that. So good to see Jordan Obi kind of score the ball. That was kind of the go-to for beating the press. I'm curious to see if that's what they do sort of moving forward, is where, okay, Tony Morgan, you get the ball past half court, and here is Jordan Obi and to score for that. Asia Boone, 14 points. She was the third leading scorer, and, you don't know if you would have thought that watching the game. 14 points, 4 of 11 from 3. So, again, not the most efficient, but you do love the 4 threes. They really, all 4 of those seem to come at really important times. 4 rebounds from her and 2 steals. So, of course, that's always good to see. I thought Amelia Hassett played really, really good. Again, to start the year, kind of late last year and to start the year this year, she just kind of wasn't herself, just kind of wasn't, the Amelia Hassett we'd kind of known her to be at the beginning of last year, and she's kind of picked it up again. 9 points, 3 of 9 shooting from deep. That number doesn't sound awesome, but that is 33%. That is a serviceable number. She's obviously done better, but again, 3 of 9, 33%. I think you'll take that for the most part. 9 points. But I think the part you have to really be proud of her for, 14 rebounds. And not only was it 14 rebounds, she had 6 rebounds on the offensive glass. I remember after last game, Kenny kind of zeroed in on Jordan and Amelia, I believe it was. And he was like, hey, you two cannot have 0 combined offensive rebounds. And she comes in here, she gets 6. So you have to be really pleased. Yes, offensive rebounds are a product of your missing shots, but, when you get offensive rebounds, okay, there's second chance points. There's, you get to reset your offense, that kind of thing. Just going back to big picture, Kentucky, this was a really good test. Again, Marshall's, I think, going to be really good. This was a game you kind of needed to play. Like, you got to get your feet wet. You can't go into conference play, LSU is going to be really good, but I'm going to use them as an example of you can't just go out and just beat teams by 100 every night and think you're learning something. I remember Tennessee, Kim Caldwell, she had a post-game press conference recently. I don't remember who they played or anything. It may have been the Belmont when that game was close. And Kim Caldwell's talking about how former Marshall coach Kim Caldwell, how about that, was talking about how, last November I didn't learn anything about my team. And Tennessee started the year 15-0. And you're thinking, okay, that's interesting. Well, it's because they didn't have the toughest schedule in the world. And now this year, Tennessee's got a tougher schedule. Yes, they've lost a game, but at the same time, okay, that's going to bode, well for them come conference play. So I think Kenny's kind of taking sort of the same mentality. It's just fortunately Kentucky hasn't lost a game. We're hoping to keep it that way. On Tuesday, Kentucky plays a really, 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 really big game against Purdue. I think it's a game, of course, I think Kenny, he called into the KSR postgame show for the Eastern Illinois men's basketball game last night and was talking about how Big Ten, kind of an up-the-road kind of school, wrapping up a home and home. But for Kentucky, this is a big game. Well, the really big reason is you're going to have a recruit on campus. You're going to have a recruit in the building for that game, so you need to show them the environment, show them the passion and the fire of BBN. But it's good to go through these games because now you're going to play Purdue, a team I think Kentucky should beat. Not like Monmouth level beat, but a team I think Kentucky, like when I do my prediction for Kentucky-Purdue, I'll have Kentucky winning, right? That's a team I think you should beat, and it's good to have these Marshalls, even Morehead State, have these kinds of games, even Buffalo a little bit, where, okay, you have to go through some adversity. Of course, I think today, oddly enough, was the game they had the most adversity. I know I think it was a closer game against Morehead State, but I think today, oddly enough, you probably saw the most adversity, especially going through that period without Clara Strack. But it's so important to go through these kinds of games because if you don't, you're going to get shocked by a team. You're going to go into a game and think, oh crap, you're going to think the world of yourselves, and then you're going to go into a game and reality is going to hit you hard. But Kentucky gets out of Marshall with a 76-44 win. Again, really big win. I think Marshall's really good. I think they're going to be one of the best mid-major teams in the country, to be honest. Like Belmont, Fairfield, Princeton, And I think Marshall can be up there in that group. You know, a team that I would imagine in the Sun Belt can compete for a Sun Belt Conference championship, regular season championship too, obviously. So I think it's good. Kentucky comes in here and after struggling, fights through adversity and ends up getting a 30-point win. Right? So that's always good to see. I'm Phoenix Stevens inside. It feels good to say inside for one of these rapid reacts instead of being out there in the cold. Inside of the Cam Henderson Center here in Huntington, West Virginia. Kentucky beats Marshall 76-44. I do not have my phone on me. Actually, it's right there recording the video. What's the score of the football game? Let's see. Let's see if we're going 2-0 today. I'm surely to God we are, right, guys? Tennessee Tech football. There we go. Kentucky up 35-10 with 12 minutes in the fourth quarter. So it looks like we're going to go 2-0 today. How about that? It's always good when you go 2-0. Again, like I said, Phoenix Stevens here in Huntington. My first time here in the Mountain State. Looking forward to coming back. Don't know when that will be, but I will be looking forward to that day. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the KS 41-10. We just scored a touchdown. How about that? Dante Dowdell. All right. 41-10 football Cats. 76-44 here in West Virginia for the Lady Cats. I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.